Well, welcome to SWIB, our virtual September Successful Women in Business Luncheon. I'm Sarah Pearson. I am with the Boca Chamber, and I am thrilled to have today's speaker. I would like to recognize our sponsors of our Successful Women in Business program. This program has been around for quite a long time. It's extremely successful because we have successful women in business as a part of it. But it's also extremely successful because of the businesses that support it, support strong women, support business. And so I want to recognize these sponsors. Our Ruby sponsors are Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, Hospice of the Sea, Hospice of Palm Beaches, Trust Bridge, all under one now, West Boca Medical Center. Our Sapphire sponsors, Bell Rock Capital, Center State Bank, Florida Blue, Northwestern Mutual, and Toshiba. So I do want to recognize all the people that make up those businesses. They have been strong supporters of the Chamber and in our community for quite some time, and we very much appreciate them. So our speaker today, I can honestly say Jen Jager is one of the funniest people I know. She has taught me so much and continues to teach me. I knew her when she was Jennifer Sarah Metis. I knew her, back when she first started her business, and it's just been unbelievable to watch her grow. She and I are very similar when it comes to our size. So she's, we have that in common, and we're extra loud because we're maybe not as tall as everyone. But she also, talking about her personal brand, I would say her personal brand always has great shoes on, which I absolutely support. Always looks happy and beautiful and ready to go. Very, very funny, like I had said, which I believe somebody as funny as Jen is somebody that's very, very smart as well, and just a dynamic person. So I'm going to read her bio, and then we're just going to get right into it. Again, this is about our personal brand, which I'm very excited to learn. I think by the end of this whole presentation, we'll be able to kind of get a feel on who we are and what our brand is. I do suggest if you have any questions or would like to make comments, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little button that says Q&A if you just hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen. And you can type questions in there. And I will be monitoring that throughout Jennifer's presentation. And I can either ask during the presentation, which she's okay with, or we can wait until the end as well. So if it makes sense to ask during, I'll go there. All right, so I would like to formally introduce Jennifer Jager. Jen Jager started Plum Productions in 2009. She had a vision, a woman-owned and operated business where every project began with a fresh look and a collaborative spirit between creatives and clients. In the past decade, Plum Productions has grown into one of South Florida's busiest production houses, with clients ranging from small nonprofits to household names like Oracle, LexisNexis, Saks Fifth Avenue, ABC Fine Wines and Liquors, which we know all of them. Having established a successful creative agency in South Florida, Jen turned her sights to a global audience and started her YouTube channel, where she gives tips on video marketing strategies, software reviews, and tutorials, and YouTube channel growth. Her audience has swelled to nearly, and I thought this was a mistake, to nearly 60,000 subscribers from every corner of the world. I remember when she launched this, and I remember when she got to 10,000 subscribers, and that was less than a year ago. That was less than almost 6 months ago. And she's already gotten up to 60,000 subscribers. So if you're like me, Jen is probably the most famous person that we all know. And we get to have her right here in Boca Raton. She is very involved in the Boca Raton community. She's an active member of the Chamber and also serves on the board of directors of the Best Foot Forward Foundation, the Golden Bell Foundation as well as the Spirit of Giving Network. She was named one of Boca Life's magazine's 40 Under 40 to Watch, and Boca and our Chamber Person of the Year in 2015. In 2017, Plum Productions was named Small Business of the Year by the Chamber. She is a Patriots fan, got to keep that in there. And as a customer of hers, she has done commercials for us, promoting the chamber itself, promoting, why people should join the chamber. And we still use those videos that she recorded maybe 6, 8 years ago. But she's also done some amazing videos when it comes to politics and voting, which can be very challenging and certainly would be a challenge to make entertaining at times. But she has done an excellent job doing that as well. So again, you could probably see how much I adore Jen, and it's my pleasure to officially introduce Miss Jennifer Jager. Thank you.
That was the nicest introduction I've ever had. That was very flattering, so thank you so much. I hope that I don't disappoint in this presentation today. So basically what we're going to be talking about today is what is your personal brand. My situation's a little unique because I've actually taken my personal brand and created an entire business out of it. So as Sarah talked about, about a decade ago, I started this production company called Plum Productions. And then a couple of years ago, I started this YouTube channel where it's really just me on camera talking, giving advice about video marketing strategies. I look at different softwares that come out and give my take on them, and I help people grow in their YouTube channel. And it was kind of like, I started maybe monetizing that channel about maybe this time last year. It wasn't a huge moneymaker. And then when the pandemic hit, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. My business, we didn't know what was going to happen with Plum Productions. It was a very uncertain time. It was really scary. And we just kind of rallied, what assets do we have that we don't need to be going out into the world and shooting video? How can we make money from home where we're stuck? And so what we ended up doing was really leveraging my personal brand, taking that audience I had on YouTube, which at the time was about 15,000, doubling up on how much content I was creating. And we built out a website. It's jenjager.com, literally it's my name. My alter ego online is Jen Jager. So I've got me, my normal self that you guys all know. And then I've got this personality online, which is a little weird. But we built out a website, and from that website, I created a few online courses about how to use different softwares. And so we sell those courses online. So, people know me from YouTube, and then I direct them to my website and they make purchases there. And it has turned into an entire second business, all based around a personal brand, which is really kind of amazing. And that might not be the path that you guys all take, but having a personal brand, you don't need to be start an online business or have a huge social media following for you to leverage a personal brand. It's something that can work for you even in real life, in one-to-one situations. So today we're going to talk about what a personal brand is. We're going to go through an exercise where we help define your personal brand. So you may want to have a pen and paper handy so you can make a few notes for yourself. And then we're going to talk about how to actually use that personal brand in your career in real life, whether you own a business or you work for someone else, but you really want to grow in that company, or you want to start something new, because a personal brand can open up a lot of doors for you. So the first question is, what is a personal brand? What are we talking about? And the definition is an intentional effort to influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility, differentiating themselves from the competition, ultimately advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a large impact. That is quite a mouthful, but I have to say every single thing in there is 100% true. I want to draw your attention to the part where we are differentiating ourselves from the competition. That's going to be something that we're going to talk a lot about. So that is what your personal brand is. Now, whenever I think of personal brand, this movie comes to mind. Hopefully you get a chuckle out of this. This is Steel Magnolias. If you haven't seen it, this character played by Julia Roberts' name is Shelby. This is her wedding day. And she's very particular and excited about her wedding. And her wedding colors are blush and bashful. And who didn't cringe the first time they saw this, right? She sounds ridiculous. My colors are blush and bashful. And I think she even says that pink is her signature color. And she just kind of sounds obnoxious and full of herself. But I have to say, in 2020, I think Shelby was kind of onto something here. As women, we are really conditioned not to put ourselves in the forefront, right? You're not supposed to boast about yourself. That expression, behind every great man is an even greater woman. Why are we behind any man, right? So it's really time to just get over what I call like the head trash of, no, I'm not supposed to talk about myself. I'm not supposed to think about myself that way. I'm not supposed to act like I care about myself so much. Let's just throw that aside. Let's really think about ourselves as a personal brand. In this exercise that we're going to do, we're going to start thinking about ourselves as products. So try to separate all the noise that you have in your head about talking about yourself, promoting yourself, and all the things that might make you a little uncomfortable. And let's just think about ourselves objectively. I actually think that, personal branding is becoming more and more accepted. And my prediction is that it's actually going to become expected in the future. It's not going to be weird to brand yourself out, to have a really defined vision of who you are, and to say it out loud. I think that in the future, people are going to expect this, and things are evolving. And I think the reason that they're evolving is that social media has really given rise to individual voices. You don't need a lot of resources to promote yourself or to say what you want to say. Any of us can do it at any time, and we can all grow our audiences in that way by just putting some effort into it and having a really focused point of view. So who should have a personal brand? Guess what, you guys? It's not a matter of should. You already have a personal brand, whether you realize it or not. I mean, you just heard Sarah say those like really kind things about me. So like your personal brand is really how someone else would describe you, the impression that you leave them with, the way they feel when they think about you, what they visualize if someone says your name. All of those things are already your personal brand. So what we're going to be talking about today is being more intentional and strategic with our brand, really having that focused point of view and really knowing who we are and embodying that. And so you're already doing it. Let's just do a better job of it, right? So let's talk about why a personal brand is important. There's a lot of reasons I think we should all be thinking about our personal brand. First of all, internally, it really helps us define who we are. It keeps us focused about who we are and what we're about. So you'll always want to think about, is this on brand for me? Am I being true to myself? Externally, a personal brand is great because it makes you memorable. It makes you more polished. It really makes you searchable online if that's something that's important to you. And it really just kind of gives other people a better impression of you. So having a very polished personal brand can really make you appear to be more successful. The other thing that's great about having a personal brand, and this is something I've learned, is that having a personal brand is an awesome lead generator. If you own a business or you are in sales or anything, people don't connect with companies, I've learned, okay? They don't connect with businesses and companies. They connect with individual people. So if people feel like they know you or that you're approachable or they know that you're the person to ask about this thing, leads will just start flying at you. And so even though I give advice on my YouTube channel about like video marketing or software or whatever, the phone for Plum Productions does not stop ringing from every corner of the world. Right now I'm working with a client in Saudi Arabia, South Africa. I've sold courses to people in Australia and Singapore. So really it's unbelievable like how when you really identify who you are and put it out there, what comes your way. And I know it can be really confusing. Like when you think about, like if you're like me and you're a business owner, it's hard to understand where your personal brand fits in with your business. So prior to me really thinking about my brand, I used to orbit around my business. So Plum Productions was in the center and I was just orbiting around it, like constantly nurturing it and cultivating it. And is the word about Plum Productions getting out? And is our business healthy? And how are we operating? I thought so much about Plum Productions. When I switched the brand to myself, the center of gravity changed. I became the center and the business started orbiting around me. And then other things came into my orbit. So I had all these other like things going on, all related to my business, all generating income, and they're all under my umbrella of my personal brand. Because you cannot orbit around two separate things at once. You can't do it. Physically impossible. If you make yourself the center, other things will orbit around you and you'll make room for more stuff to come in, more good stuff. And the last reason that you should have a personal brand is that it's an insurance policy. What if you have a big life change? What if you lose your job? What if you lose your business? What if you get divorced? Like, what if you sell your business, something wonderful happens? Your personal brand comes with you, always. No one can take it from you. If you have a big career change, something happens, you're still gonna have your personal brand. So it's really good to think about all of these things that we're gonna talk about today actively, even if you don't need it now. Even with everything I was doing on YouTube and all the stuff I was, already had going on, when that light switch, the pandemic hit, and we were pretty much out of business, I still had so much work to do on my personal brand. There's a lot of things we scrambled to get done. So, if you can be proactive and smarter about it than I was, start thinking about it now, it'll be there for you when you need it. So what doors can a personal brand open? Some of these, are things you may have dreamed about. Some of them I can tell you I've dreamed about and they've come real for me. You can get hired as a consultant, which that's definitely something I can do. But people, when they see you as an expert in this one thing, they will want to hire you. They'll reach out to you. You can write a book. That's a dream it's not a dream for me, but it's a dream for a ton of people. And if you have name recognition and people know what you're about, they'll want to buy your book. You can book public speaking events, which is a great way to get leads. You can create courses because people think you're an expert in something. They want to learn from you. We can generate income from that. That I definitely can say works. I've taken advantage of that. You can land endorsement deals or sponsorships, which I know sounds crazy, but I actually have a few brand deals going. So when you become like such an expert in this one thing, and then a company supports the same clientele that you do, they might want to pay you to write content for them, to make a video for them, to speak at an engagement for them. So you can really like land a lot of new business opportunities through that. And then also, if you just have a job, you can, and I don't mean to say just have a job, but if you're not like entrepreneurial, you can still leverage a personal brand, because if you're that like go-to known expert for that one thing, and you want to level up in your career, people who know who you are because you're a thought leader will hire you for these like primed positions. So, having a personal brand is a great way to open a lot of opportunities that you might not even have known were coming your way. So what is your personal brand? Let's define it. So like I said, you want to consider your personal brand, like think of yourself as a product that we're going to market. And so think about it really objectively. And basically what you want to do is distill all the things you are into a very focused personal brand. So we're all these things, right? We're a sister, we're a wife, we're a mother, we're a daughter, we're a cook, we're a comedian, we're this, great technical whiz. We're all these things in our life, but you have to like pick out the very few things that are really going to align with your goals and your brand, because your brand can't be too muddled. It needs to be really focused. So your brand is composed of 4 things. First of all, it's your area of skill or expertise, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Your brand story. So just like any great Shark Tank pitch or anything, everybody's got this great story. So you're going to want to learn to develop that. You want to know what your communication style is and your voice is. And you also want to think about your visual presentation, right? If you're a product, the packaging is important. So let's talk about first your skill or expertise. Have you heard the phrase before, niche down? This is something that's really, really important in really a lot of areas of marketing. Niching down means that, let's say you're a financial advisor. You want to not just be a general financial advisor, you want to serve a very certain audience. And then you even want to, and this is where it gets hard, niche down again. You think you're specific, right? We all think, oh no, I do this very specific thing, I'm very special. You want to be even more special. You want to niche down even again. And I know that this kind of scares people because they think, yeah, but I don't want to like alienate potential clients that I'm qualified to serve and I would be happy to serve. That won't happen. That won't happen. In your personal brand, niching down just means that you're very targeted in this very specific area of expertise. And like we said before in that definition, remember we talked about the definition of a personal brand, and in there I notated differentiating yourself from the competition. This is where niching down is going to be super, super, super duper important for you. So let's figure out how you're going to define your skill or expertise. First of all, if you're in a field where your customers mostly come from referrals, define your brand by who you serve. So let's say you're that financial advisor and you're like, okay, I'm niching down to women. Okay, good start. Now we're going to niche down again. What women? Women going through divorce? Women in their 20s who are just starting to invest? Like, look at your clientele and what do they have in common? A lot of them. That's really where you should be focusing your effort. So your brand is really who you're serving. So I'm going to give you 1 second here. You've got your pen and paper. Just like write down, if your customers mostly come from referrals, who specifically you serve and what are you really great at. All right, now conversely, if you're in a field where customers mostly come from online search, define your brand by what you know, okay? Because people don't, I think about them, they don't self-identify when they're searching online. They're looking for information. So you want to be that expert in a very particular area. So for instance, say you own like an advertising agency, and then your niche down is like, you're really good at like digital marketing, okay? Maybe not radio ad buys or TV ad buys, but really like the digital online marketing. Niche down again. What really in that digital marketing are you so great at? Maybe you're like the specialist in buying very targeted Google AdWords, which is a very specialized thing. You want to be known as the person who is like level expert in Google AdWords. Now, that doesn't mean that you like don't do all the other things that your advertising agency does, right? You're still doing everything else, but what your brand is, what you're known for, and where you can really plant your flag is, let's say, those Google AdWords. Being very specific is really going to help you make inroads in your personal brand because it makes you memorable. You know, you go to, if we ever get to go to a chamber breakfast again, you go to a chamber breakfast and you might meet literally, I mean, there's the 10 people at your table, and then there's like, in the networking part, maybe you meet another 10 people, so 20 people. Do you remember all 20 people when you leave there? What they do and what their names were. But if you have a personal brand and you're very specific about what you do, that is really going to stick in someone's mind. Because I meet, 10 lawyers at a chamber breakfast, but if I meet that patent attorney and I'm like, oh, that's like, you don't meet a lot of those, well, that is something that I'm going to remember. So the next portion of your brand is your brand story. So this is where you kind of get to embellish a little bit or simplify. Your brand story isn't like an account minute by minute of how you got where you are. Your brand story is your big why. Why do you do what you do? And this was like a very famous TED Talk, I think, that Simon Sinek gave, is the why. What motivates you? It really gives people insight into who you are, what makes you tick, and it makes them remember you. So your brand story should be, I mean, you heard Sarah read my bio. That's pretty much my brand story, right? Your brand story should be pretty quick, simplified, and powerful. So we're not going to obviously have time to write a whole brand story right now, but why don't you write down in one sentence, what is your why? And I'm just gonna be honest, because I always am. It doesn't have to be like 1,000% truth that this is the first thing you wake up for every morning. For me, my brand story is that I really love helping people harness the power of video marketing to make their businesses more successful. So it's just something like that, a big idea that really drives you. So what is your why? Okay. Now let's talk about your communication style. So your communication style is composed of two parts. First, it's the medium in which you're best at communicating. So are you like a verbal communicator? Are you an awesome writer? You write that amazing newsletter everybody loves. Are you really great at social media and you take awesome pictures and you've got these really cool boomerangs and they have all these effects on them and like you have a really fun visual social media presence? Like if you could only choose one way to communicate with people going forward, like what would it be? So that is the medium in which you communicate. The other thing to think about is your voice. What is your tone? So like, are you more cheerful or more subdued? Are you familiar or more professional? Are you like Southern and polite, or are you like kind of snarky? I mean, what is your tone? So think about those two things and write them down. And to give you an example, I'm a verbal communicator and my tone is that I'm very frank and honest, and I'm casual, but reasonably professional. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there. Okay, now let's talk about your visual presentation, because remember, we're going to think about ourselves as products. So the packaging is just as important as the product itself. If you invented something, you would think about the packaging literally as much as you thought about the product, I promise you. So we're thinking about ourselves as a product to sell. Let's think about ourselves like physically. Now, I like to use Bethany Frankel as an example for personal branding because she is the master of personal branding. In fact, Bethany Frankel, you don't even have to say Frankel, you can just say Bethany, and everyone knows who you're talking about. Bethany is her own personal brand, and around her, she has her Skinny Girl liquor company, which I think she sold for an insane amount of money. She has a charity. She has she had a talk show. She has like a jean line. She has popcorn. She has all these things orbiting around her in her singular brand. And as you can see in this photo, she, not always, but she often wears the color red. Red is her signature color, and she really doesn't change up her look a lot. If you look here, she's got the dark hair, she's got the red. I mean, you could see her 100 yards away and know that it was Bethany Frankel, right? And as women, we're at such an advantage when it comes to this because we can get away with physically so much more than men can get away with in our culture. This is just something that's going on in our culture. I see if you're a woman, take advantage of it because you can really stylize yourself and make yourself a more shiny object than a man could. Men in our culture have a very specific uniform, right? You go to a networking event, they're wearing a jacket and a tie, you know, everything's either tan or gray or black or navy, that's it. And they're wearing certain shoes. I mean, the men, you know, they just all blend together, don't they? But us women, we have style. We have an opportunity to really differentiate ourselves. And think beyond just wearing one color. Think about what is it about you physically that is memorable for people. Like maybe you have really cool silver hair, or maybe you are always the tallest woman in the room, or maybe you have awesome, like edgy New York fashion, right? And no one dresses like you. Think about what is going to make you memorable within your physical self and lean into it, play it up. And we're going to talk more about that. Now think about your online self. If you were selling a product online, you have a lot of decisions to make. What would your color palette be? Would it be blush and bashful? Would it be red? What would your color palette be? What font would you use? Would it be a big bold font in all capital letters? Would it be like a script font? Like if you were designing a packaging for yourself, what would it look like? These are all decisions you should be making and thinking about. And anything that you send out, whether it be an email, anything like if you post a meme to social media, it should be in line with this brand that you're creating in your head. So write down anything that you think really makes you stick out physically, you know, whether it's your physical body or the way you like to dress or anything, accessories you wear, the tall shoes, the hoop earrings, like, you know, anything that really makes you stick out. And then think about what, if you could design around yourself, what would your design look like? Have fun with it. All right, remember, the easiest way to maintain your brand is to be true to who you already are. That's why you're not putting on an act. It's just innate and natural for you. Your brand can't be anything you're not. It won't work. It won't work. You really have to be true to yourself. However, your brand can evolve over time, right? So like if you're that financial advisor and your, you know, core clientele right now is these women who are just learning to invest. Maybe you yourself are kind of on the younger side of things, so you have a younger clientele. As you all get older and reach different life stages, now all of a sudden you're the financial advisor to married women with young kids, or women going through divorce, or women about to retire. So you're kind of evolving with them. So it's not like you have to just like claim your brand now and you're stuck with it. Just as we all evolve over time, your brand's going to evolve with you. Okay, so now that we know what our brand is, how do you communicate it to other people? So, and this is the part where you need to remember, you're not literally walking up to someone and saying, my niche is this is my expertise. And if I had to describe my communication style, I'd say I was casual but professional and honest. I mean, you don't say, these are the quiet parts, right? You don't say this stuff out loud, but it's a filter through which you filter everything that goes out into the world through this filter of your personal brand. And so when you do anything, you're going to ask yourself, is this on brand for me? Okay? Is this pink stripe that I'm about to have my hairdresser put in my hair, is this on brand for me? Is this email, signature where I'm like, write something really funny or off color, is this on brand for me? Like, think about that. And maybe it is and maybe it isn't. But anything you put out into the world, you're going to be like consciously, strategically thinking, is this on brand for me? So how do we use it in real life? First of all, you're going to network smarter. If we ever get to meet in person again, which I hope we do sooner rather than later, you're going to know your personal brand before you walk into a room, and it's going to make sense to you who you're supposed to talk to. So if you are that financial advisor who's serving these women in their 20s, you go to a breakfast, it's clear as day, you can spot who you should be targeting. So you're going to like consciously think, when you get to this place, where do I need to gravitate toward? And you can even take it one level further. You can look, when we have actual events, you can look on the chamber registration list and see who else is going. And when you get there, ask a chamber employee to introduce you to that specific person, or ask a chamber ambassador to introduce you. That is what they're there for. So if you have defined your brand to a very focused, distilled core concept, then it should be easy for you to network smarter and not just leave things to chance when you go to these events. The other thing you want to do is elevate your elevator pitch. Say, this is my area of expertise. This is who I serve. Say it in a way that reflects your tone and your communication style. And say it while you're looking the way is on brand for you. So really think about that elevator pitch. Work that brand story into it. You can even, and this might feel a little corny for some people, but you could even incorporate a catchphrase if you think it feels on brand for you. Because I can tell you, I was in a leads group like 10 years ago, and I still remember people's catchphrases. Like, they stick and it works. So if you can find a way to work that in and feel comfortable doing it, I wouldn't rule it out, I have to tell you. And what's even weird, I was thinking about this morning, the people's catchphrases that I remember from that leads group, they're all women. I don't know, and I know men had them too, but it's the women that are memorable to me because I remember what they look like. Women are very different looking from each other, and it's just, it works. The other thing is to look for areas and ways to demonstrate your expertise, because you want to be known for that very specific thing, right? So what if every week on your Facebook page, you write a tip about those Google ads, okay? So you're not doing marketing in general, you're being very specific about those ads. Look for groups that you could maybe do speaking events for and pitch yourself to them. Have an idea and say, I'm a real estate photographer. I want to speak to your Realtors Association about how to take better photos with their iPhones. So look for opportunities where you can speak to people. And better yet, create your own opportunity. Host a webinar that talks about something you're very niche in. And even if no one shows up to that webinar, it gives you an excuse to post a little meme advertising that event multiple times on multiple channels. So even if people don't come to that webinar, they're going to see what the topic is, and they're going to equate anytime they need that service, they're going to think of you. So even if no one even shows up to the webinar, even if you end up canceling it, if you can promote it, that's a way to reach people and advertise. Any PR person will tell you that. They always need an event to wrap their story around. If you're sending an email, send it from yourself, not your business. Again, people connect with people more than they do companies. So, and anytime in my inbox I see an email from a business, I just think it's spam. But if someone in particular emailed me with their first and last name, I I would be more likely to open it and I would feel more related to them. I really would. So think about, sending things from yourself personally. Remember, you're shifting the weight of everything from your business to yourself. Also, you might want to create educational content that people are searching for. If you're trying to be found online, you should create content, whether that be blog posts, whether that be videos, anything like that. You should be creating content that helps people in your niche. And I did a whole webinar for the Chamber about content marketing. And if you're more interested in learning more about that, I definitely recommend you go over to the Chamber's YouTube page and find that webinar I did, because I had a lot of very in-depth content marketing strategies that I think could be really helpful for you. But if you want to be known as that expert, you need to put it out there. You want to polish up your LinkedIn page. So in the past, you would, you would put your title and your company name, right, in your at the top of your LinkedIn profile. There's definitely been a shift, and I'm sure you've noticed, where people are putting more about themselves, and not their specific role within a company, but their area of expertise and where they are a thought leader as their title in LinkedIn. So even if you work for another company, you're the expert in this thing, and you want to be known as that expert in that thing, whether you want to make a career change or do some consulting or anything else. So use your LinkedIn page in that way. And the other thing is, create content on LinkedIn. So don't just share content just to throw it in the newsfeed. Have a bold idea to share. Make commentary about something that's going on. Make a prediction. That's the kind of content that's shareable, that will give you more reach on LinkedIn, and as opposed to sharing someone else's idea. Put yourself in a position of being a thought leader, and that's a great way to do it on LinkedIn. You also want to convert your bio into your brand story. So your bio shouldn't be, a list of all your accomplishments, right? It really should be a whole story you tell about yourself. You should make yourself sound legendary. And you might feel silly doing this. If you don't want to do it for yourself, ask someone to do it for you, someone that you work with or who knows you and who's a big cheerleader for you. Ask them to write your bio for you, because you might be even just what Sarah was saying about me, I couldn't believe it, And I was talking to somebody about this a couple days ago, where they asked someone to write their bio for them for that reason. But then, that person that was writing the bio really wanted to get more details from the person who had asked them to write the bio about them. So it shouldn't be like that. You should ask someone to write your bio without you having to tell them. If they're your colleague or someone who knows you well and they're your big cheerleader, they should be able to come up with a bunch of great things to say about you that you might not have realized yourself. And then you can finesse from there. But having someone else who really supports you write that bio and that brand story can really take your brand story to a place that you might not have been able to take it to yourself, because we're so conditioned not to talk about ourselves in that way, right? So sometimes we just have to support each other and help each other out in those ways. All right, this is probably the biggest nugget that I can give you. Buy your domain name. Listen to me. Buy your domain name. And that means you're buying the web address with your name or something that makes sense for you. You can go to, I think the website is namescheap.com, where you can just put in what you want your website to be, jenjager.com, whatever, and it'll tell you if it's available, how much it costs, and I'm telling you, $10 a year. You don't have to build a website on it now. Buy your domain name. Please do this. And if your name is not available, it will suggest other names, .net or something else, So please do this. You will not regret it. Again, in the future, I think everyone's going to have their own website. That is my prediction. And if you have kids, I'm going to tell you, I would recommend you do it for your kids too, because these names are getting snatched up, and you don't have to, this is one of the areas where when the pandemic hit, I really got caught off guard. I had the domain name, but we built a website in 2 or 3 days. We just got something up there because we had to, and thank God we did that. So you should definitely buy your domain name, claim it so no one else can claim it from you, and it is cheap as dirt. The other thing you need, you guys, you need a headshot. Like, you need a headshot. And this is where, when we talked about your physical appearance and your personal brand, this is like the one situation, unless you're having a web developer build your website for you, that might be another situation. But this is a situation where you're actually going to say out loud what your personal brand is. So like we talked about, you're not going to go around telling people, this is my brand, this is my brand. But this is a situation where you actually need to communicate that to your photographer. If you're like loving your silver hair and you think it looks great, tell them, I really am known for like my hair. I really want it to you know, be prominent in the shot. They'll pick a background and lighting that'll show that off. And then if you say, and this is kind of my tone, I'm really cheerful and fun, they will, you know, help you find poses that kind of communicate that, or pick out an outfit that really communicates that. So this is where you actually, like, you don't just want to be concerned with looking pretty, you know, which, okay, I get it. Like, that's part of, I get it. But like, you really want it to be more than that. You want to be deliberate and strategic about this picture. Are they going to shoot you, you know, if you're an IT specialist, maybe they shoot you in the server room with like the cool blurred out lights behind you. You know, just think about all those things. Next up, make a business page for yourself on Facebook. This is a free one, and even if you don't do anything with it, it's just like the domain name. You'll be glad you had it in the future. Also, if you're going to do a content strategy, this is where you would put a lot of that content. Share information. Whenever you post on YouTube or LinkedIn or write an article or a new blog, you could throw it on your Facebook business page and then share it from your personal page if you so choose. But this is just one of those things that's free and easy, and just do it. And then the last thing is, this is weird, but design a logo for yourself. When you do decide to create that, I don't know, YouTube channel or your blog or your website, you're going to need a logo. You really are. So I would recommend, either for a personal branding, because it's like about us, either a monogram logo, which is this DM, this red DM you can see here. So it's like a graphic, very graphic logo, but it's also initials, so it's very personal. For me, I have like a script font, which I like because it feels like a signature. So I think that makes a lot of sense as well for personal branding. So I hope that you guys got a lot out of this. I hope that it's giving you clarity about what your own brand is. Remember, the most important thing is to be true to yourself. Remember, everything that you put forth in the world, career-wise or in any other ways that you're trying to make strides, you're pushing all of that through this filter of your personal brand, and that you can maybe get over worrying about talking about yourself, or like how weird it is to have a website with your own name on it, or a professional headshot taken of yourself. Just sort of really think about, you know, who you want to show to the world and be really proud of it, and you will do a great job with your personal brand. Do you guys have any questions? Sarah, are there any questions for me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, I just kicked the cord. Okay, I don't see questions yet, but I just want to remind people to type in their questions or comments in the Q&A section. I do want to let you know that I did leave out something very important on your personal brand when I was introducing you, and that is that you are an amazing electric guitar player. We don't want to forget about that as the winner of our Golden Bell Battle of the Bands band. But I did have a few comments while people are typing in their questions. So first, I want to thank you for, from the beginning, reminding us and letting us all know that we already have a brand. You know, we're not starting from scratch. It already exists. And that kind of makes you reflect on things that you should change as well. So not just finding ways to promote yourself and use to showcase yourself, but, you know, there could be sometimes not such great branding going on personally with people as well. So I find that interesting. Do you think that personal branding became a thing? When do you think it became a real thing? And
I think for men, it's been a thing for a long time. For women, I think that, I mean, in my lifetime who I really think of in terms of personal branding, you think of people who go by their first names, Oprah or Ellen, or, that to me is like, like just going back to Oprah. I mean, she had her show, but then she also had a magazine, and it was all tied into her as an individual.
Right.
And without her, there was no brand, which can be scary for a business. But if you're that person with that powerful voice, no one can ever take it away from you. And it goes with you wherever you want to go, wherever you want to take it. And it's just like I said, such an insurance policy.
So then do you think, you had suggested we buy a website or, a URL with our
Right.
brand, our name or whatever, and then a Facebook page with our name. Do you believe it's going to go as far as not just business professionals, but each person, how do I ask this? Each person, whether they're just, you said buy it for your kids. So
Yeah.
like, is this personal brand concept way beyond business? And in general, people are going to be individualized brand bubbles in the future.
I think that social media, like a Facebook account or Twitter and Instagram, is already doing that on a personal level. I think the smartest people will have these websites. And I think we're all smart women, here. So I feel like it's not going to be every single person forever. But I do think that the sharper people and the more motivated people will see the opportunities that having that can provide to you. Even if it's just that you want to do more speaking presentations, or if you actually decided to finally write that book or whatever, even if it's just serving one sole purpose in your life, it's really important to have it. And it's the kind of thing that once somebody snaps it up, like there are people going out there buying names, okay, URLs, and then they want to sell it to you for $1,000. Like just do it now before it gets even crazier. Just like do it.
All right. So here's a few questions. Somebody has asked, are personal brands more effective for service-related businesses?
I think so. I'm in a service-related business, and I get calls. So how can I put this? So I don't think that my company, Plum Productions, is ever going to be able to connect with people the way that I connect with people. So even though I'm getting so many leads, or I'm selling courses or anything, all of that is actually going into the Plum Productions bucket. So I'm getting leads, I'm consulting with people. Like I said, I'm like doing editing projects for people around the world. And that is all because of me, my personal brand, even though it's actually sustaining and feeding my business. So that's kind of the symbiotic relationship that we have. So in a service-related industry, I definitely think it's very valuable.
All right. Next question. What strategy would you suggest for an emerging speaker to use to launch their Facebook business page on public speaking when your message is still in flux and you don't yet have content to post?
Well, I would start with the low-hanging fruit, which is to brand out your page visually. I'm not sure what your area of content would be, but I have to be honest, I don't think Facebook, if you're trying to do content and become a speaker, I don't know that Facebook is the best platform for you. You want something that's really searchable, and I might suggest for you YouTube, because if you want to be out there and speaking, it's very, you're going to need video out there. And because YouTube is owned by Google, all of that content is searchable on Google, which is where people go to find stuff. The second place they go to find information, how to do something, they want to learn something, they want to think about something, is YouTube. Those are the two things. So I don't know that I would, I have a Facebook page, and I do have people that convert from YouTube subscribers to fans on my Facebook page, but really, that's why I say pick your communication style, and the medium that really works for you is because you can't do everything. So I do think I don't know enough about it, but I'm going to guess that YouTube might be a better platform for you, because that is where people search. And if you want to be a public speaker, it gives you an opportunity to present yourself. They want to see you live.
Right. All right. Next question. Is it important to emphasize a personal brand when you just own a business? For instance, I own a high-end nail salon and I'm not necessarily the face. Do I combine my business branding with personal branding?
I think that the connection, especially if you're so like geographically based business where you're really serving a very specific geographical area, it can be harder for you as the owner of that business to make inroads. However, I do think that you could have a great Instagram following as your personal Instagram account where you're promoting your local business. If you do, really like a really cool nail design, or at a hair salon, they take pictures of these great hairstyles they do, and they post it on Instagram. But I do think as a person, you might engage better with people than a company, because when a company posts to Instagram, it feels like a commercial. When a person posts to Instagram, it feels like I'm just connecting to other people on Instagram, and then people like it better. And then you can convert that business, tag your nail salon. And then what if one day you sell the salon, and then you still have that audience, you still have that reach, you still have that focused personal brand to rely on.
That's great suggestions. That's awesome. All right. And then one more question. Some people struggle with what their personal brand really is. They may think it is one thing, but I think it's one thing, but it is perceived by others as something different. How do you correct this so that the brand you are actually putting out there is the one you want?
That's a hard, listen, and Sarah, you hit that on the head earlier. That can be hard. There's a disconnect between what people are perceiving of you and what you're really trying to put out there. I would ask some supportive friends what they think, why they're getting, hopefully it's still a positive impression, even if it's not the one that you're trying to put out. But then really, I would really be more conscious of pushing out what we defined today. But it might be a slow turn, to try to shift that. But of course it can be done. Who hasn't themselves in their lives at one point or another? So it's really just about maybe finding that middle ground to start with, where your brand, you want it to be and where it actually is. Or the other thing to do is, if you might be surprised by how people perceive you and your brand, but if it's not bad, lean into it. That's what's coming naturally to you, and you can just kind of own it and still rock it.
Gosh, it's so true. Awesome. All right. Let me just ask you one more question. I get to ask the last question. You said pink stripe in your hair. Is that your brand or not your brand?
No, that is not my brand. I thought of it. You see people and they're like, I know a woman who does marketing. She's got silver hair with purple, like lavender stripes, and she's in her 50s, and it looks awesome on her. And maybe someday I'll do it, but.
Well, I was thinking, because you have the plum color of things. So I thought, is she going to put a streak? I didn't know.
I thought about it.
Well, maybe, years to come, but it's been truly a pleasure to watch, to learn about you and your brand, and to watch all this. This was a step-by-step awesome presentation just now. I took a ton of notes.
Oh, good.
And I have a lot of thinking to do, and I can assure you that everyone else on this call is probably in the same boat I am. So very much appreciate it.
I had fun. This actually helped me too, because I hadn't really thought about it in these specific steps and terms in a while, and it's a great refresh. So I was happy to do it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time, and make sure you guys like Jen's YouTube channel so she could get up to like 100,000 in another month from now, and we can really, have this superstar in our own backyard. And make sure you register to attend our First Responders event that's happening on Wednesday morning, at 11 o'clock. It's our First Responders Appreciation. It was going to be a luncheon. It's now obviously virtual, but we will be recognizing the Police Officer of the Year, the Firefighter of the Year, the Paramedic of the Year for Boynton Beach. And their stories are unbelievable. So make sure to attend, grab some Kleenex. It's certainly the time to appreciate and respect and acknowledge our first responders. So it's again 11 o'clock on the 23rd. And other than that, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jen, again. And we'll Zoom you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.